the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 is not for everyone. For some people, it would be a complete waste of money. And at the same time, it could be the best phone that Samsung makes. After 3 weeks of using this phone, let's talk about the good, the bad, and also put it in context with a few other phones. One of the most polarizing aspects of the Z Fold 4 is going to be the size, or rather the shape of it. I mean, sure, it's heavier than the iPhone 13 and 14 Pro Max or the S22 Ultra, and you will notice it, but it's not twice as heavy. And really, when you handle it every day, it's the thickness that you need to get used to first. When it's closed, it's about 1.5 as thick as my other phones. And for the first week or so, it just feels weird, especially when you're using it with one hand. And this is how I use it when it's closed, because it's too narrow for me to use with two hands. One thing I really like about the new smaller bezels on the Fold 4 is that my fingers don't get caught up on the edge of the screen protector like they did with the Fold 3. Now, once you open it up and get to see this amazing big display, then of course things change and now you're always using it with two hands. This phone is too big to use with one hand. There's really no good way to open it with one hand. Now, once it's open, you'll feel like you're using a small tablet more so than a phone, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, from a design standpoint, the Fold 4 is more of a refinement of the Fold 3 than a huge leap forward. We're getting more squared off edges, new colors. The exterior is matte just like my Phantom Black Fold 3, but the frame is glossy. I chose the green gray color, which I absolutely love, but in reality, I always have a case on mine, which makes the phone feel even bigger, but also less slippery. So even with the stronger armor aluminum frame and the improved scratch resistance of the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the front and the back, and getting used to handling it for 3 weeks, I still don't trust myself without a case for a phone that I paid $1,800 for. And yes, I paid for all of these phones with my own money, full price, none of them were given to me. Now, the hinge on the Fold 4 also got a small update and is slightly slimmer while still feeling extremely strong and smooth. So it's never gonna do anything like flop open on you inadvertently or close when you don't want it to. It's a really well-made hinge. We're getting IPX8 ratings, so while it's not advised for beach or pool use, Samsung does say that you can submerge it in 1.5 meters or about 5 feet of fresh water for up to 30 minutes, so I felt comfortable running some tests of my own. Now, the phone itself worked perfectly as soon as I took it out of the water, and then once I shook the water out of the speakers and let it dry, the speakers sounded just like they did before. Now, the one thing that you still need to be careful about is dust, because this phone is not dust resistant. Now, that's one of the reasons why I said it's not for everyone. You don't want to drop it in the sand, and you don't want to leave it anywhere where it could get dusty. And with most other phones, that's not even something that crosses my mind. I just put them down wherever. And over the past 3 weeks with this phone, I did find myself having to be more mindful of where I took it and where I put it down. Now, I talked a little bit about the displays, but these are absolutely beautiful. They're sharp, they're crisp, the colors look great, and I like the slightly wider outer display. It's not a huge difference from the Fold 3, but it is noticeable. Now let's get to the main display, because it makes me involuntarily smile when I open up this phone. So even when I switch back from my S22 Ultra, which I think objectively has a better quality display, what I get in terms of size and quality on the Fold 4 is simply unmatched. Beyond the specs, which are already impressive with 120 Hz, HDR10 Plus support, and 1200 nits peak brightness, the actual user experience is so good. Now, I'll get to gaming in just a moment, but everything from browsing the web to looking at social media, responding to emails, reading my ebooks, so all of those things benefit from a larger display. Now, if you need to use multiple apps at once, you can have them side by side or one on top of the other, and there's plenty of real estate for each app. Now, you can tile in a third app if you really want to, and you can add a fourth one even in a floating window if that's something that you find beneficial. Now, I use 2 apps side by side a lot more than I expected to, and Every once in a while, I'll add a third app if I'm watching a video while I'm doing research. In any case, for multitasking or essentially for productivity, this is the best phone that I've used to date. With the continued updates to how different apps respond to this resolution and with the upgrades to the UI, including the new taskbar at the bottom, this phone feels like a more refined product than the Fold 3 did when it was released. And when it comes to watching movies or YouTube, we do get a nice and large display, but remember that if you're watching content in its original resolution, you'll have fairly large letterboxing or the black bars on the top and the bottom. If you zoom in to fill the display, then those go away, but then you're cropping the left and right sides of the image. As far as the crease, it's slightly shallower than the one on the Fold 3, but it's still there and you can still very much feel it, and you can see it if you're not looking at the phone straight on. Personally, that's a compromise that I'm willing to make for having this size and quality folding display. If you're not sure, swing by a local store and check one of these out before ordering, because this could be a deal breaker for some users, and more on this later on when we talk about the S Pen because, well, you'll see. Now, you're probably not going to be surprised that using the main display versus the cover display is going to impact your battery life. As far as capacity, we're getting a 4,400 milliamp hour battery, which is the same size that we had on the Z Fold 3. And as a point of reference, the S22 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. What I can tell you for certain is that the Z Fold 4 has better battery life than the 3. And that's due to the newer Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, which is not only more powerful, but also more efficient. This is definitely one of my favorite upgrades with the Fold 4. You can charge it up to 50% in 30 minutes. We're also getting 15 watts wireless charging and 4.5 watts reverse charging. And don't sleep on reverse charging. It's one of those features that I didn't think I would like before I have it. I don't use it a ton, but when I do need it, it's super handy to have. I mentioned the improved performance of the new chip, and you can see that it easily outpaces the Snapdragon 888 chip on the Fold 3 for both single and multi-core performance. You can get the Fold 4 in 256, 512 gigabytes, and 1 terabyte of internal storage, and all models come with 12 gigabytes of RAM. Keep in mind that there is no micro SD card slot, so you can't expand the internal storage, and make sure that you get enough storage for what you need. Over the past year, I've had no issues with the performance of the Fold 3, so while I do appreciate having the additional headroom on the Fold 4, what I value most about this new chip is the improved battery life. Another welcomed upgrade to the Fold 4 is the camera system, which now features a 50 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto with a 3x optical zoom. This new hardware setup, together with improved computational photography and videography, definitely bring the Fold 4 main camera up to flagship level. I'm finishing up a detailed comparison of the Z Fold 3 and the Z Fold 4, and you'll be able to see side-by-side images to better understand differences in dynamic range and color and noise, and in a few other aspects. We also have a front-facing camera on the cover display, which is pretty good, and an under-display camera on the main display, which you should really only use as a last resort. And here's a video of using the under-display camera. This is in like ideal lighting, so it should look okay, but for anything other than just perfect lighting, it's gonna be pretty terrible. All right, so here's a sample video of using the external camera, the one on the cover display. This will give you a pretty good idea of what this camera is gonna look like. Here's a test of the main camera and the microphone on the Z Fold 4. This should give you a pretty good idea of the type of image quality that you're gonna get and the type of audio quality that you should expect. Because you can open this phone and still use the main camera while you're using the cover display for framing, if you want the best selfies, the best vlogging video, and the best looking content for TikTok, Instagram Reels, or for YouTube, use the 50 megapixel main camera whenever possible. After using this camera module for 3 weeks, I'm super happy with the level of performance. And I no longer feel like I'm making a concession for a sub-flagship level camera system in a phone that costs more than all my other flagship phones. Another expectation that I have for a phone at this price point is excellent gaming performance, and the Fold 4 doesn't disappoint. The display is super fun for gaming, and with this size, you almost feel like you're playing on a small tablet. Now, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip has kept up with all the games I've played over the past 3 weeks, so anything from Asphalt 9 to Genshin Impact to PUBG, and I definitely appreciate the improved battery life. When playing PUBG, you can set graphics to HDR with frame rate set to extreme, or you can set graphics to Ultra HD and frame rate to Ultra. Now, I pretty much always play on either smooth or balanced for graphics and then extreme for frame rate, so I can get a fluid gaming experience and still extend my battery life as much as possible. Now, another gaming aspect where the Fold 4 shines is when you connect an Xbox controller and then play Xbox Game Pass games. Being able to unfold this larger display and then play wherever I am also makes this a super convenient gaming setup when I travel. And this sort of mention of portability brings me to the S Pen. So the Fold 4 does offer S Pen support on the main display. It doesn't work on the cover display. The S Pen also doesn't come with the phone, so you have to buy it separately. And make sure that you get the Fold edition or the Pro edition of the S Pen if you choose to buy one. It's a nice accessory to have for those users who have the right use case for it. And at the same time, keep in mind that there's no place to store the S Pen on the device itself unless you buy a case with a dedicated slot. Now, right now, I'm testing out this modular Samsung case that has a removable part where I can either put a phone stand or the S Pen holder, and so far, I really like it. I probably take the S Pen with me about 10% of the time, so it's nice to have this flexibility. It's great for when I'm working with contracts, when I need to take handwritten notes, or if I want to quickly sketch out a shot or a concept for a video. Now, this is one area where the crease is a bit frustrating. Now, when I normally handle the phone, the crease doesn't really matter because I don't touch it. It's right between my thumbs. But when I write or draw, I almost always have to go across the crease, and it's not the best user experience with an S Pen. Again, this is an area where I have to weigh this slight inconvenience against the versatility of being able to use an S Pen. And again, this is somewhere where I suggest that you consider your specific needs. I said at the beginning that the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 is not for everyone. And for some people, it would be a complete waste of money. And it's not a small amount of money. In fact, it starts out at $1,800 for 256 gigabytes. Samsung always has outstanding trade-ins, but if you're going to be bothered by the added size and weight, the narrow size of the cover display, if the crease is going to be an issue for you, or if you need dust protection, this may not be the right phone for you. If you're looking for a beautiful, big, portable, foldable display, an excellent productivity device, a super fun phone to game on, improved battery life, performance, and camera system, if you want a bigger display for browsing the web, for social media, for reading, and for watching video, and you're ready to try something other than a traditional slab phone, the Z Fold 4 could be the best folding phone on the market. Now you should see if the Z Fold 4 is actually Samsung's best phone. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.